And because the parents see the way the world is moving, they are so scared that they even fear to let the child try from crawling to walking. You're like, he will fall, hold him, hold Jack before he falls. We have to let Jack fall. So that Jack gets up and falls again. So that Jack stabilizes. Our parents have gotten so scared of the world that they
But for
feel,
good reason, eh?
For a good reason. It's because they see where the world is going. During the COVID period, when actually very many parents got a rude shock of how lame, how how do they call it? Handicapped their children were, that they were forced to stay at home in the same environment
It was a lockdown.
with their children in the
Yes.
lockdown. And they
24/7.
realized that their children could not even make chai mukaru. They could not. They could not do that. Because now, 6 o'clock, out of the house. 9 after football, coming back. Mama, 6 o'clock, going out to the bank, wherever she's working.
Yes.
7 o'clock, coming, rushing into preparation of the meals and ABCD. So this one we realize our children knew nothing. In fact, that period got so many parents to wake up and start developing interest into the vocational training.
Hello and welcome to Light Up series, where we get to talk about topics that help you to have your own independent thought, and then moving forward you can decide to either carry on the same conversations, which we encourage highly, with other peer parents or talk to young people. That's why we do this program, and that's why it's very important. So welcome to today's topic. And today I'm having a conversation with my brother, who will introduce himself very shortly. And we're just going to talk about a topic, very interesting topic. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hassan. Thank you. Okay, it's Hassan
Mpanga Hassan Kawesa Mamji.
Yes. Mpanga Hassan Kawesa Mamji. Hassan, both you and I are parents. And I just want to give you a very interesting story that I picked recently. Recently I went and did some work in a school, part of the work that I do, as a mentor, a coach, and I've spent a long time working with young people. So there is this life skills program that I do in schools. And I've been seeing a phenomenon that at the end of the sessions, young people line up. They come to me. Part of them will say, oh, can you please write down something that's personal to me? You know, kind of makes you feel like celebrity status. So you have to write something and then you sign it. And that's okay, it's all fun. But then others come and they say, Mr. Mpanga, can I talk to you? And you realize this young person needs a moment. So recently I was in a girls' school, and same phenomenon, it happened, and there was this young lady. She was in senior 5. I'm sure now she's in senior 6 in this particular school. She aspires to be a doctor. She's offering sciences, very bright student. And then she started talking to me. Okay? But immediately when she started talking to me, 5 to 7 seconds in her talk, she became so emotional, she started crying, real tears running down her face. And this is the statement that she said: I feel sad because I don't have a true sense of identity. And my question was, why? And she said, because first of all, I hardly talk to my parents. Number 2, I hardly talk to my dad. My dad does one thing. He brings me to school, puts me at school, and on holiday, the day end of term, he'll come pick me and take me home, straight home, nowhere else. And when he takes me home, these are the specific instructions he gives me. Stay inside the house, don't go anywhere. She told me, I literally cannot go and touch the gate in our own home. So she said, when I'm in school, sometimes I feel school fatigue. and I feel like I'm engulfed. But I have to study, and at least I have a few friends. But when I go home, to me, home is no longer home. And these were her exact words. For me, home is a prison, because they take her, lock her inside, and tell her not to come out. So for me, I mean, at that point, I gave her a few things. I encouraged her to talk to her parents, and I also told her of the fact that very soon she'll have to go to university, where she will have more space, you know, and she won't have all these restrictions. But my biggest worry was looking at this young girl, very bright, who is giving me a story that this has been pretty much her life, her entire life. And now she's in senior 6, a young adult. She's about to go to university. And at the university, you are no longer a student. You are an independent adult, there to learn and to study. Okay? And that really gave me concern that what kind of person is she? What character has she built? What kind of level of resilience does she have? And what I truly believe is that the parents' decision to always take her home and put her in the chisakate, which is locked and barricaded, comes out of love. They want to protect her. You know, that's their own thinking and meaning of protection. But then I'm looking at the world we live in today. And you look at the rest of all the young people who are out there, you know, and that worries me. And for me, Hassan, I'm interested in you giving a voice of thought to the parents out there to understand the kind of world we live in vis-a-vis the restrictions that we have for good reason, but that these restrictions can really become problematic. You know, they can render a person to be disabled. Because if this young person today is going to university, could even be out of the country, but even if it's a university nonetheless in Uganda, this is a person now who is out there on their own for the first time. They have no restrictions, and I have no idea what they can do to try and protect themselves. They have no street smarts. They are, if I may use a somewhat derogatory word, in terms of chicken, they would be, to me, they are more or less a broiler chicken, you know? So what are your thoughts?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mona. It's really a big challenge we have here. Because parents, today's children are supposed to have lived in our world, not in this world. Because the level of preparation that our parents gave us perfectly fits us into this world. You know, it's like you see the animals, even the wild animals. You see a cub with a mother lion, they'll move and the mother just stays at distance as she watches this young cub going to attempt to do something. But they let it try. But in our world here, parents are so worried, so protective, that we have instead become careless in a way, I should say. We know very much that the world we are in now is so challenging in terms of exposure. Children are exposed on a lot of information, a lot of things that in actual sense need a lot of concern from the parents. And what have we done? We have not prepared our children for this kind of world they are living in. Remember, now we're living in a global world. We have the TVs, we have the laptops, and name it, the phones. These kids are exposed to a lot of information. And because the parents see the way the world is moving, they are so scared that they even fear to let the child try from crawling to walking. You're like, he will fall, hold him, hold Jack before he falls. We have to let Jack fall. So that Jack gets up and falls again. So that Jack stabilizes. Our parents have gotten so scared of the world that they
But for
feel,
good reason, eh?
For a good reason. It's because they see where the world is going. 1, rapists. 2, the population explosion has brought so many people from the villages to the towns, which means in a village, in an area where there were, let's say, 200 people, now they're in thousands. Borders are crisscrossing.
And
Taxis
then
are
the global
wild.
culture.
Then there is child kidnap. Then there is rape. Then there's a lot that goes on in the parent's mind, and the parent feels, my child is not safe. Now
This place
they
is
put the child in a bubble. They lock the child in a bubble and watch the kid from a space. Take to school, never allow him or her out. Come, pick the child, lock her up. You are not preparing this child for this world. Parents are so busy, they have no time to share a light moment with their children. Some parents, their children go into the menstrual periods and they are not aware. It is that bad. That you find your child, a boy, the voice has changed, you see the child changing into a young man, and you never sat on a round table to share some things. And the mothers are so busy in this corporate world we are in, they even get the information from the maid, if they're lucky. Rita went into her peas. And the mother says, what? And then she begins jumping. Yet she's supposed to have prepared the girl before. That, you know, as a young girl, you leave this, but as you become a young woman, this will happen.
This will happen.
For us during our times, there was ABCD. A young man will approach you, a stranger does this. How do you talk to a stranger? If you're a girl, how do you deal with a male teacher? How do you deal with male peers? You know, there are so many things, there are so many talks.
How do you deal with them when they make advances?
What
does an advance look like?
What does it mean?
Exactly.
What does it lead to? What are the repercussions of ABCD? Parents have shunned this hard talk with the children. Instead of getting so scared that in our offices, in the comfort of our ACs, we lock the kid inside and we think they are safe. In actual sense, we have damaged their future. We have damaged their confidence.
Yes.
Self-esteem. These children are not confident at all. Like that young girl you're mentioning. She cannot even tell her father that a certain young boy, Richard, wrote for me this note.
And they have a good
conversation
about it and laugh about it.
And laugh and say, oh, you know these things, when you're this age, things are bound to happen. You're a young, beautiful girl, ABCD, such and such is bound to happen.
Exactly.
Oh, even these girls cannot even go to the shop to buy anything.
Exactly.
Because
it actually reminds me of a story that was given to me once about the shock of, they call them planned kids. The shock of planned kids. When you take them from the comfort of the cars where you chauffeur them or whatever, the next thing they know is Uber and the like. Try taking a child, put them in our typical taxi, where people come with all kinds of orders and they're squeezing each other, the cars are dusty and what, you know. These kids get shocked. They really get shocked. And for us, as you said, the parents who are raised, the other from our generation, this is normal life. Actually, it's a normal life.
In actual sense, there's a way we've tried to protect our children that is damaging their growth and their advancement as individuals, as young people. Because in the world we are in, challenges are increasing. The world is like this factory where you see the spawns are moving. This is moving, It's it's like moving a factory. There's a lot of noise, but you can easily calm down, say, now how do I deal with this? They are putting in the other part there, it's moving here, to here, to here, to here. The bottle of soda is finally here. Our kids know the bottle of soda coming from the fridge. The milk coming from the fridge. They can't trace back this process where it's coming from.
Yes.
So just like life, we are supposed to prepare our children not to be the rich children of tomorrow. Because even if you're a doctor, I told my daughter, I'm a proud father of 5 bouncy girls. So if I have 5 girls, you can imagine what I'm going through. I have to program my
Does it
conversation
explain the-
for the youngest
the silver lining.
to this one.
Yes.
What do I converse with this one? What kind of conversation am I having with this adult who was at university? Then what kind of a conversation am I having with this one who is in P3? So at the end of the day, you see, there's a big difference. But the kid asks you so many questions when she comes back home.
Yes.
Papa, my friend told me they went to Dubai, but the Dubai is sand everywhere. That's a mind. You don't know there are buildings there. There's a BCD. Then this other one tells you of a different, you see, Papa, I'm practicing law, but now in these companies of this country, there's nothing to do with the life, as in, I'm going to get married, I'm going to be a mother, I'm going to be working. No. They take the life to the extreme and isolate it. They live like in a bubble. We're planning for them to live in a bubble, that after she has grown up, she will come and take over my job, which is not the case. You work in back of Uganda. You work in a certain company where you're employed.
And in any case, this young person is going to be their own people. So chances are they're not even going to be interested in any of the vocations that you pick.
No. By the way, now there's a challenge that we have not trained our kids to have skills. In fact, this generation takes skilling as a low level kind of training.
Actually, that is the gist
kind of
of
training.
that is the gist of this podcast, this program, talking about what skills do young people need, what life skills can enhance. Doesn't matter if they've gone to a vocation, doesn't matter if they've gone through academics, through university, doesn't matter if they know literacy, basic literacy.
Do you know how I learned to drive the car?
No.
Washing it at home. Cleaning the car at home. I clean it, I reverse a bit, I leave it there. I forward it, I leave it there. Gaining confidence. Then I move it a longer distance. Then at school, in my primary school, I was Chibuli demonstration school. In my school, because at home I was doing that, our headmaster had a car, Honda Civic. Because I had the knowledge, I'd gotten the confidence of being behind the wheel.
You know the makings of
And our headmaster was a father too, was a friend to our father at home. So when we were cleaning, I told the guys, I can drive this car. They said, no way. They dared me. We cleaned the car. I sat behind the wheel. I knew what the clutch was, the lever. I just stepped on the one pedal. I put in neutral. The car went down. I moved the car like around 20 meters to the headmaster's house. And there was this cheering, cheering. Then the headmaster got out of his house and looked his car moving towards him.
He sees his civic moving.
Towards him. I stopped the car, wiped it properly. You can imagine the rest.
That was a serious
What I'm telling you
reprimanding.
is, when we allow kids to test things, they gain their confidence.
Within safe modes.
It was during the COVID period when actually very many parents got a rude shock of how lame, how do they call it? Handicapped their children were. That they were forced to stay at home in the same environment
It was a lockdown.
with their children in the
Yes.
lockdown. And they
24/7.
realized that their children could not even make chai mukaru. They could not. They could not do that. Because now, 6 o'clock, out of the house. 9 after football, coming back. Mama, 6 o'clock, going out to the bank, wherever she's working.
Yes.
7 o'clock, coming, rushing into preparation of the meals and ABCD. So this is when we realize our children knew nothing. In fact, that period got so many parents to wake up and start developing interest into the vocational training. That kids are supposed to do the mechanical, the electro engineering, the builders, plumbing and all that. People joined those skills because at home you realize you could not call Peter to come and fix the water.
Exactly.
Even some fathers could not change the bulb in the house. It was that bad. Some mothers didn't know even how to prepare an omelette. That's when the dads realized, because all the time they're at Javas, they're everywhere, or the nanny or auntie so, the maid is doing ABCD. So that time it was a check, a rough check for everybody in the family. Those who got the chance woke up. They realized we need to help our children.
Yes.
Because you cannot have your child who's preparing to become a doctor, but when she can do nothing outside that. We have to find a way of helping our children gain some skills.
Okay. And now bringing it back to the entry point where I was talking about actions that we take as parents, but from a place of love and concern and care, what we think is the right thing, that exposure for children is very important, but that, as you've rightly put it, it should be done within parameters that are safe. And I think this takes into account everything, social aspects to do with the child. Take, for example, young girls. And I think these are some of the, for me, these are some of the important aspects that parents need to think about. And I think I'm going to ask questions here that if you ask parents, they would be shocked. Is it understandable for you to know that my daughter is growing up? She will be rebellious in some ways, but my daughter is growing up. She also needs to have a sense of confidence that there are people of the opposite sex who adore her.
Yeah.
And so that then you can have that conversation with your daughter, because it's going to happen. But you mentioned a very important aspect or element. You said, have that conversation before this happens.
Yeah.
Don't wait and want to act after the fact. At this juncture, I'll raise a very important statistic that came out during COVID. You just mentioned COVID. After COVID, a statistic was mentioned. Do you know how many teenagers got pregnant during COVID? When we were in the lockdown? And I usually tease young people when I'm working with them with this number. I give them a number of 150,000. Then I say 100,000. Then I say 80,000. And then I put like 2,000 or 180. Then I put a ridiculous number, 600,000 plus teenage pregnancies. And then I ask them, from all these, just take a wild guess. What do you think is the true statistic of the young people in Uganda during COVID who got pregnant? And they all avoid the 600 plus. And yet that is the true statistic. It was north of 600,000. Imagine that in Uganda, that during lockdown, 600,000 plus teenagers, meaning below 18, got pregnant. Now, what does that say to us? It says young people are sexually active.
True.
Teenagers.
True.
Number two, it says, if I can see all those numbers representing teenage pregnancies, we still have an HIV prevalence in this country. True. More prominent among that age group.
True.
It means if I went and did further investigations, I don't know what kind of infection rates we have among that category. That is an issue I have to think about. It also means that there is going to be a lot of disruption in our societies. Why? Because all these are now young mothers. Many of them are going to abandon school. True. And lastly, which explains why we're a young nation, it also says to me that with that statistic, no wonder we have actually children below 18 who are giving birth to children. And that explains why out of the 46 million Ugandan citizens we have right now, half of them are below the age 15. But in that same category of 14 to 18, the new mothers,
the parents,
their parents. You know, it's a mess. You know? And for me now, coming back to the point you raised where you said, talk to the children, not after the fact. It brings us to the fact that I have to talk to my child about their body changes. I have to talk to them about boys. I have to talk to them about sex. And these topics can be so comfortable if you bring it not in crisis. Yeah, so I don't know.
Parents have to be proactive about some of these things. In fact, most of the things. Parenting needs someone to be proactive, not reactive. Whenever you are reactive, you actually bring the wrong solutions to the challenge you're facing. Because this is coming from a position of anger, frustration,
And
things-
remedying.
Yeah. Yet, we have a chance as parents, we're with our children. Most of the children, very many children, I'll say, are in boarding schools. They spend there over 90 days.
Every cycle of
Every
a term.
cycle. Then you are with them for something like 21 days. It means as parents, we have to maximize on that time that we bond with these children, understand our children, because very many parents don't know their children.
And
These
you talked
chil-
about earlier on a period, which I've talked about is very critical, 0 to 7 years. You have an opportunity there. You're spending more time with that child.
It's funny that even on a religious basis, I'm a Muslim. We are told that from the age 1 to 8, you are supposed, all the way up to around 12, you are supposed to be preparing your child to what she's supposed to be, because there she's taking, she's agreeing to whatever you are doing because you are the boss, you know everything, she believes you know, she believes you're next
And
to
there
God.
is a trust and a very powerful
There's this
bond.
trust, she
Yes.
believes you're next to God. Whatever you say is the truth.
Yes.
Even if you say, in fact, this week, you're not supposed to be eating food the whole week, we're supposed to be taking water, she'll agree. Because mama or papa said. Then they add this, teacher so and so said. So those two things,
Yes.
those two elements, the teacher and papa or mama. So we must find time and sit on a round table during meal times. You know, these grandparents of ours were so intelligent. God gave them this wisdom. They used to call it orujuliro. On orujuliro time, they'll give you the do's and don'ts without you realizing it. You talk about everything.
And it's all through a conversation where you are eye to eye.
Eye to
There
eye.
is no tension.
There's no tension. You say something, then they give you back a piece of meat or whatever it is. You are free talking. We have to find time to talk to our children. Otherwise, no one will. And currently, the teachers have somehow lost the morale. That's why we have career guidance and the rest of them, departments developed in schools to do that. But again, the numbers are so high in schools.
Yes. And they keep
The
increasing.
numbers are so high that the teacher
To pupil
this
ratio.
is so big that this teacher will not get this specific attention to understand that Nabukeda had this challenge the other term. I've gone on to monitor her. To
And
this
we are
level
working
because
consistently on
there are
that.
10,000 children plus.
Yes.
Cut the teacher a slack, you know. So, as parents now, this is our responsibility. Let's squeeze time. What do we go to work?
In one of the episodes that I ran earlier, I talked about our role as parents. And I took it from the Japanese philosophy where they talk about senseis, and those are teachers. And I was trying again to appeal to the parents that much as we take our children to school and universities and training institutions and the like, we are the primary teachers. And wise men and women have said, if you're a parent, know that you have a teaching responsibility for the next 20 to 22 years before you can take a break. And even when this daughter of yours graduates with a degree in law, goes on to become a judge and the like, as long as you are there, she will always remember that Papa Hassan can advise me on this. So you become a teacher for life the moment you become a parent.
It's funny that even at my age, I ran to my father for advice.
Okay.
If there's something challenging me, I run to engineer for advice. Yeah, Papa, I have a challenge, A, B, C, D. At my age.
And when he gives you advice, it's sound.
And it works. It has always worked. So we have to find a way of building a relationship with our children that they start trusting us again. Let them have trust in us so that when you give them advice, they take it as valuable advice and it will work from a place of love, not the one of swords and name it and this, either do it if you don't get on my house and no.
And which doesn't work in today's
It
world,
doesn't
as
work.
you explained
It doesn't work.
In our time, our parents' word was law.
Yeah.
It was never questioned. Our teachers' instructions were low. You couldn't question your teacher. Even when you are so confident that I think the teacher is wrong, you could never question. You had to take what you take. Today's children question everything, and rightly so. That is their world, and that's how they define it. And I think as parents, we need to adjust to that reality and figure out that with our children, a deeper partnership beyond daddy, mommy, child, we need to build a partnership that works.
We need to have
A friendship.
friendship and trust, because when this girl is challenged by this young man somewhere who is making advances at her, she can easily come and share it with you without fear,
Without hesitation.
but with respect.
yes.
When
And
this,
be sure that you are going to really advise her.
and advise her, not say, now you are finished, that's it, we are leaving that school, that's it. No, we are scared, but we have to be having this thing at the back of our mind that these children are growing up and they are going into this world. There's no turning back.
Yeah.
You know, in Luganda, they have a saying that the pregnancy grows outwards, not backwards. Somehow it will be discovered. You can't hide it. So these are bitter facts that these children are growing into this world, which is full of challenges. We have to gear up ourselves to prepare them for these challenges. And with me, I think skilling is very important at this point. Do you know that you can lose your job just like that because you are into this one thing? Where does that start from? The home. At home. Kawesa, go and wash the car, clean the shed, clean the garden, take this out, switch off the lights, close the windows. Those things are no longer there.
Yeah. And actually, you've mentioned a very important point, I think,
Marked
which we will crown the third part, this third part of our talk, which is very important. Skilling and multitasking, or multitasking as a subset of skills that you hold. Again, I'll make reference of the conversations and interactions that I always have with the students in schools. I'm seated with this group of students and I'm asking them, what chores do you like to do when you're at home? And of course you can imagine the response. Others are saying, no, I don't like chores and the like. And then I ask them funny questions like, if I asked you right now to picture and draw for us what your bedroom looks like right now, or usually when you are at home on a holiday on a typical day, how is your bedroom? Of course, everyone was laughing about it because they know that it's messy, it's all over the place, and until someone comes through and say, hey, please organize your bedroom. They are so lazy about it. But of course, they are given the excuse that they just came home, they are resting, they don't want to be bothered. But then I asked them, what kind of chores do you do? And one girl typically talked about her experience, which she depicted as very challenging. And during COVID, it even became worse. So she goes, I'm trying to paraphrase. So she gave us a scenario during COVID. She would wake up every day at 5, ensure that there is milking of the cows. Then she has to take all the animals out. She's a bit out of the city in Mitiana. Then she would ensure that by the time the parents wake up at 8, remember it's lockdown, breakfast is ready. Then she would have to start on the washing, and she said by the time breakfast is ready, the house has all been mopped and cleaned. Then she starts on the day's chores, like washing clothes, and then of course lunch has to be ready, latest 1:30, you know. And she talked about this routine, and she said, I did this for the entire lockdown. I got fed up. At one point I felt like running away from home. My first question to her was, were you alone at home? Were there other siblings? And she said, well, I was with our stepmother and my siblings were not doing a lot. So they always asked me, and I'm the big girl. I said, okay. Then the second question which I asked, which was very, very important, why did you feel so agitated about it? And her response was, okay, two things. One, I was the only one working. The others were not working, and it was too much work, which I did on a daily routine, because even the balalo at home had gone because it was COVID. And we had all these animals to take care of. Then she said, and what really angered me the most, we could milk the cows, we get the milk, they sell it, we could do all this work, I would wash my parents' clothes and whatever, I helped them with a lot of things, even on the shop. But I asked them to buy me a smartphone, and they said no. So I could understand her anger. And I said, oh, okay, I think your parents should have been more lenient to you, to see the dedication and got you there, and so that they would think about the mobile phone. But then I told her, but look at the time. It's COVID, a lot of uncertainty and the like. Maybe that is something that they would have done late. She actually told me, yeah, afterwards, actually, when we went out of COVID, my dad promised me and said, I'm going to get you the phone. But at that time...
Do you know what I pick from this? Is the reward system.
Exactly. But for me, then I turned on to the entire class now. And I asked them, how many of you, the students, how many of you would love to live her life? Of course, no one wanted to come near it. But then I started now showing them the logic behind. I told them, many of you look at this young lady, this young student, as a person who is going through an ordeal. But I promise you, if tomorrow all of you were employed and we had to cut people off, I promise you she would succeed far beyond all of you. Because in these so-called daily routines and chores at home, this young lady learnt a skill that many of us go through school without ever picking. She's multi-skilled and she can attend to so many things at the same time. But even when I told them that and they understood, it didn't take away the thought, which is very important, and now that comes to the parents, to the parenting community. I think sometimes we stigmatize certain things that can teach children skills. A parent, to me, it's very important that when they choose to teach children chores, they teach these chores and the children can see the rewards in them. Otherwise, sometimes parents, what did you do? Next week, the entire week, you're mopping the house. Then it's stigmatized. It becomes a form of punishment. Yet, if you are showing a young... I think it works best that if a young person has done something wrong or whatever, sitting them down and having a conversation about it and talking to them is a better... But then you use all these opportunities that would teach children to do things, preparing chai muka, it becomes a punishment. And I think we need to remodel and redress that.
It has a challenge. During our time, you do clean the car, do the lawn with the slasher.
Yeah, with a slasher. Not a mower.
Then do the hedge, mop the house, clean the car. But at the end of the day, when it's time to go back to school, you would be rewarded.
Yes.
For all the work you did.
Yeah.
So to us, it was a kind of, you do all these things because at the end of the day, there are rewards. Those who are very involved into a lot of work get rewards. Cleaning the car, helping Papa do the things and that. When he's going to town or whatever, you are the one to give him a push. So who clean the car? Let's go to town.
There was always an incentive.
There were always incentives that come with them. Currently, the incentives for nothing given. That's the challenge we have. This
your
typical kid of mine,
you take it to the wash bay.
Car wash, take the car, clothes to the laundry, then without doing anything, my child is entitled to a tab, a phone, data, new shoes, without anything. We don't attach these things to anything. So for them, they look at them as things.
They're entitled.
They don't even attach them, they're entitled to all this. To the extent that we have abandoned our television in the living room. They have to play games. So you abandon your news, you go Saturday.
Oh, the PlayStation.
Yeah, the PS are everywhere. So some of them can't be that. We don't have the luxury of having a TV room everywhere. No.
Yeah.
We have a living room and the dining, the bedrooms. Kids hijack the living room with the PlayStations. And at the end of the day, they even have the phones, smartphones, and the tabs.
Yes.
So how will this kid ever, every now and then they go to Javas for outings and everything. What will you ever reward these kids with? to know that there is this that's supposed to be done. There's a maid, a scary, the one who does the cleaning, washing of the cattle. You know,
And the
everything is
laborers
done
who walk
for
into the house
them.
and then they go.
Everything is done for them. These are kids who are not prepared to face this world at all. For us who are more prepared, that's why even up to now, we are more resilient. Yeah, the training was for 80s.
Why is it, Papa Hassan, why is it that most of the parents flipped this coin? Why is it that for us, by providing for your children, that's a must and it's a good thing. But why is it that we do not see what you're saying and rather we fight so much that they get everything, our children, and that anything close to doing some work or whatever, we see it as a, my child would rather not do this.
This will be a conversation.
How is it that we...
This will be a conversation for another time, because parents have flipped for so many reasons, and some for the very wrong reasons. This is a whole conversation on its own.
And rightly so.
Because
and rightly so. That
parents says this in Luganda, they say, my kid won't suffer like me.
yes.
I took a metallic suitcase, mine has to take a leather. Parents have become so, they have turned everything into a competition. There's a problem. Parents have turned everything into a competition. Even in buying the car they drive, it's a competition with the neighbor, the workmate, the so-and-so, the clansmate, the brother at home. There's something weird going on in this society that has turned these parents to something very different.
Okay.
A parent comes on VD with a whole supermarket at school. I saw a picture on social media. They opened the trunk of the car. It was a supermarket there almost. You think, what's this? Have they come to do sales? No. They've come to check this kid. But yet this is the parent who came from Gomba inside there. They used to walk 7 miles. He went through all this, did so many things that he's proud of. Even he tells you, with me, what I went through, there's nothing I can't handle.
Proudly so.
And you ask this parent, how have you helped your child to prepare
emulate
this
the same-
child,
Yeah.
to prepare this child for the
same
next world that
mentality.
is coming?
Yes.
A child cannot even prepare a chai mukau, like I told you. These are kids who have those huge double-door fridges at home, who think things come from there, they go shopping. They're not trained to, they think things are supposed to be, life is a straight line. Life is not a straight line.
Papa, I'll just ask you that question for you to look in the camera. And if you are talking to a daughter or a son, in view of what we just said, life is not a straight line. Look at the opportunities to put your hands and mind to work, make yourself physical and the like. What would you say to them in a nutshell?
In a nutshell, I would say, I would advise our children that what you see your parents gone through, they got the training from way back, doing chores at home, washing their own clothes, making their beds, polishing their shoes, helping with the chores at home. It made them love the work they are doing. They became multitasked at so many things.
As lawyers, as doctors,
They
as
spoke freely to
businessmen.
their parents and openly. That's why you see them today. They're normal human beings who, when they get challenges, run back to their parents. Your parent is your best friend. Find time. Don't hide anything. If there's anything to ask, the first line of defense for you should be your parent. Run to your parent for advice for anything. Build this relationship with your parent, but again, love work, because life is all about working.
Yeah.
And it starts at home.
Yeah.
That would be it.
Thank you, Papa Hassan.
Thank you.